Hi, my name is Misty Bradford. My CRN number is 23049. My book is Mr. Skinny by Roger Hargraves, and the characters in the book are Mr. Plump, Mr. Skinny, and Mr. Greedy. And the children I'm reading to today are Carol Ravenscroft, Brittany Ravenscroft, Kyle Greer, and Cheyenne Ravenscroft. Okay. Mr. Skinny by Roger Hargrove. Mr. Skinny was extraordinarily thin, painfully thin. He turned sideways, you could hardly see him at all. And what made it even worse was that he lived in a place called Fatland. Yes, a place called Fatland. Everybody see?
Yes.
Look.
Ma'am.
As you can very well imagine, everything and everybody in Fatland was as fat as could be. Not stout, fat. Fatland dogs were extremely fat. Fatland worms were extraordinarily fat. And Fatland birds were exceedingly fat. You see Kyle? See the fat bird? And you should see the Fatland elephant. Pew! And there in the middle of all this fatness lived Mr. Skinny. In the thinnest house you'd ever seen. Poor Mr. Skinny didn't like being so different from everything and everybody else. But it wasn't very much he could do about it. You see, he hardly had any appetite at all. A Mr. Skinny meal was a very small affair. Look, Kyle. Do you know what he had for breakfast? 1 cornflake. And for lunch, 1 baked bean. And for supper, the world's smallest sausage. After that, he felt so full he went straight to bed. In his long, thin bed, in his long, thin bedroom, in his long, thin house in Fatland. Oh, I do so wish I could do something about my appetite, he sighed to himself just before he went to sleep. I think, he thought, that I had better go and see the doctor about it. And he went to sleep. Kyle. The following morning was lovely. A large fat sun shone down on the fat green trees and the fat yellow flowers, and through them walked Mr. Skinny on his way to see the doctor. Everybody look. The doctor's name was Dr. Plump.
Come in,
he wheezed as Mr. Skinny knocked on his door.
Sit down,
he wheezed as Mr. Skinny entered.
And what,
he wheezed, putting his plump fingers together,
seems to be the trouble?
It's my appetite, explained Mr. Skinny. I'd like to be able to eat more, that I could put a little weight on.
Yes, you are rather, how shall I put it, thin,
wheezed the doctor, looking at him over his glasses.
I know,
he continued.
Let's start the treatment right now.
He licked his lips.
This very moment,
he added. And he opened the drawer in his desk and came out and took out an enormous cream-filled cake. He put it on the desk in front of him, and he opened another drawer and took out 6 donuts. And he put them on the desk in front of him. And he opened another drawer and he took out 12 bran muffins with raisins. And he put them on the desk in front of him.
Dig in,
Dr. Plump said. Look at Dr. Plump's face, Kyle. He looks happy. He's going to eat. And without waiting, he and Mr. Skinny ate everything. Mr. Skinny ate a drop of cream, a donut, crumb, and 1 raisin. Dr. Plump ate the rest. Look, Kyle. Wheezed Dr. Plump, popping the last bran muffin into his mouth and looking at Mr. Skinny.
I see, he said, what you mean about your appetite.
He thought for a moment.
Only one thing, he wheezed.
This calls for drastic measures. And he picked up this telephone in his pudgy fingers and dialed a number. Kyle. 100 miles away, the telephone rang. Ring, ring, ring. Hello, said a voice.
Do you know who this is?
Mr. Greedy speaking, said the voice. Mr. Greedy listened to what Dr. Plump had to say. You'd like a Mr. Skinny to come to stay, he said. To build up his appetite, he added. Delighted, he agreed. Look at Mr. Greedy. Kyle, look at Mr. Greedy. Yeah. And so Mr. Skinny went to stay with Mr. Greedy. He stayed for a month, and during this time, Mr. Greedy did manage to increase Mr. Skinny's appetite. And so, at the end of the month, Mr. Skinny returned home happy. Look, guys. What a tummy! A tummy was something Mr. Skinny had always wanted. I knew I had it in me, he chuckled to himself. He was feeling so proud of his tummy, he decided to call Dr. Plump on his way home. Very good, wheezed Dr. Plump, looking at him up and down. Congratulations! Tell you what, he went on, this calls for a celebration. And he opened his desk drawer. What do you think he was opening his desk drawer for?
Food.
Very good. And what do you think this book means to little kids?
To never give up.
Never give up. And what about adults?
They can do whatever they want.
Yeah, never give up and always.
And they need money.
No, always try. Money isn't everything, but always try. Never give up, and you can do anything. Thank you.